My name is Bishop Lamor Miller-Whitehead, and I'm running for the office of the Brooklyn Borough President.
Okay, so I guess start by telling me why you're running for Brooklyn Borough President.
Um,
I know,
I'm
loaded.
running, yeah, I'm running for Brooklyn Borough President for a lot of things. The main reason why I'm running for Brooklyn Borough President is to stand for equality. We have been infected by systemic racism. And the reason why I'm running for Brooklyn Borough President is because when we look at the political arena and when we look at politicians, everyone go according to tradition. No one is stepping outside of the box because no one wants to step on anyone's toes. And I have been hurt by systemic racism due to the fact of my father, Arthur Miller. He was beaten and strangled to death because of the color of his skin by the NYPD in 1978. And I had to grow up without a father, so because of the color of my father's skin, now I never can understand who my father was. I never was able to actually see his face. He was killed when I was 6 weeks old, and it was based off of racism and inequality. So me running for the Brooklyn Borough President, it's a campaign of life and death. As I look back at all of the history of Brooklyn, the late great Shirley Chisholm was one of the main people that was fighting for my father's in death that was injustice. And I'm rolling out a show that will create an atmosphere for a better Brooklyn and to combat the issues of racism and to install equality into Brooklyn.
So just bouncing off of that, how, as borough president, would you work with the NYPD to try to create some sort of harmony between cops and the people they're supposed to be protecting?
Well, so I don't want to narrow this systemic racism with NYPD. That was a case that it hurt my life. It affected my life. So this is why you asked the basis of what gave me the ability to move forward with running for the Brooklyn Borough presidency. But how would I work with the NYPD as far as community, as far as love, as far as understanding how we can coexist and be as one, as a community? A lot of different candidates that's running for the Brooklyn Borough president, they want to cut the finances of the NYPD. I don't believe in it. I think that if we come together and if we work together and if we don't allow ourselves to be prideful, I think we can be a better community. And I think that me being a bishop, I have two churches. I have one in Brooklyn and I have one in Atlanta, and I have over 400,000 Instagram followers. I think that I have pretty much mastered equality, bringing people together. And I've been working with the NYPD for so long, not to mention that I was a product also outside of the death of my dad of inequality. I was illegally convicted and sent away to prison, where therefore God blessed me with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to write my own motion and to be released out of prison. So therefore, I understand what racism, how it plays a heavy part in the justice system, throughout the NYPD, throughout the court system, throughout the district attorney's office. Systemic racism is bigger than the NYPD. It's a mindset. It also leads me to believe that, a lot of crimes and a lot of the disconnect between community and law enforcement is we do not know how to be effective with mental health. right? Mental health is a huge piece in the disconnect between community and the justice system. It's a disconnect between the NYPD or the court system or the justice system, how they look at our communities, because the justice system has, excuse me, systemic racism has put out a blueprint that you are you are looked at and you are characterized by your zip code. So if you have a zip code of 11212, that's Brownsville, they automatically going to characterize you as what goes on in Brownsville. If you have a 11236, that's Canarsie Flatbush. If you have a 112 13, so I can go on and on with the zip codes, but yet we are now being characterized as by zip code and not according to the creed and character of who we are.
So following that, how do we go about, or how do you plan to help create affordable housing in areas where there is none, for families that need 3-bedroom apartments, for families that want to move to a different neighborhood but find that there's no affordability, or they want to go send their kids to a school that is in a different neighborhood than the one that they currently reside in? They want to move, they can't. Obviously, as borough president, you would have a huge hand in rezoning projects. So how would you try to use that power to create affordable housing for people in Brooklyn?
So my background is real estate. I've been into real estate over 20 years, and I understand zoning, I understand variances, I understand land usage. And one of the main reasons why it's inequality in our housing is because we do not have someone in office like myself that is community, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to set a plan in place that percent, at least 40% low income housing in your structure, right? We're not going to cast away Brooklyn because Brooklyn is going higher, right? With the land use and the zoning, the reason why the minorities and the reason why, for lack of a better words, people that are less fortunate to purchase properties is because they don't know how. So what I want to do is I want to set up a system where we empower our people, because I can sit here and say, okay, well, I'm going to make it very difficult for developers to build according to allowing our constituents to be able to afford housing, right? But we have to teach our communities on how to value Brooklyn as far as building credit. This is deeper. This is deeper than just zoning and building. What about building credit? What about helping parents understand how to write their resumes? What about the foundation and the mentality of living affordable, however, but using the affordability to be a stepping stone to go higher? Because what Brooklyn has done, we have not been able to teach our community on how to progress. We have moved in and we have things, and we thank our current borough president, Eric Adams, for opening the door for that. However, now what do we teach them next? We have to teach people on how to go beyond living affordable. And I think that that's the problem. I think that our community has gotten comfortable in the fight for low income. So as soon as you get or receive a low income housing, you stay there. But this is why low income housing is overcrowded, because there's no one of just low income. As far as with the zonings and the rezonings, I'm going to put such a hard cap on that, right? If you want to come build in Brooklyn, you have to employ Brooklyn. Okay. You're not going to come in Brooklyn and bring companies that are outsourced from other communities when we have young men and women that have their correct uh, 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 um, they are approved in the unions to well, they call it the trying to think of the name. It's a certain name that they have. Um, OSHA cards. They have their OSHA, because I helped a lot of young men and a lot of young women get their OSHA. So therefore, they can be a part of constructions and a part of the building, right? Why are we allowing developers to outsource work for Brooklyn? So therefore, my office will make sure that OSHA cards are given, are making sure the OSHA trainings. We want to make sure that young men and women that are in the NYCHA buildings, they are employed, right? At the end of the day, it's all about the structure of Brooklyn. It's all about community. We always talk about rezoning. We always talk about building, right? Why can't we build the people? I have the power to make sure of what goes up, what goes out. Yes, and I'm going to make sure that's done correctly. But at the end of the day, if we continue to focus on the buildings that are being built and we are disinformed as to the in itself as individuals being built, that's the key. The key to my presidency is the people, because we have to build one another, right? I'm community, right? I understand politics. I'm going to be an elected official. I understand rezoning. I understand variances. I understand land uses, right? But all of that has to be in complete relationship with building our community, right? Why in Brownsville are there 30 liquor stores, but 2 banks? Why are they 15 funeral parlors, but 2 banks, right? Why is that narrative the same? Because the machine, the politicians, back the politicians that they need to be in office for the machine to move. I'm community. I'm fresh. I'm not a politician. I don't shake hands under the table. If I can't shake your hand over the table, then we can't shake hands. It happened with my dad. My father's death was swept under the rug, and there was a shaking of hands. But yet, now I have a young man who's 2 years old after night because I wish that my dad can see who I am today, right? I'm a bishop that do multiple funerals for gang members, right? And then we sit here as Democrats, voted Bill de Blasio, and he spoke as a Robin Hood, but he's just robbing the hood. And at the end of the day, step up and I'm not looking to go higher. I'm looking to do what God said right here. Step on to go to higher level. We have candidates here that a lot of them, they're running for office. If you was to ask the same question as me, and if they was to be truthful, they'll say, because I won't have a job if I don't get this office. Right? And everything that the candidates have been doing, if they've given back to the community, 1000%, they use the government's money to give out. Me, Bishop Lamor Whitehead, I raise my own money through my church. We give back. I put my own money up to give to the community. So this is how we're going to change Brooklyn. Brooklyn is going to be community-based, not business-based, right? Or corporate-based. People in the community that never had the opportunity to understand how to be an entrepreneur through my office, we will have that.
So if a company
We
like
will
Amazon,
have
for instance, they came in like they tried to do in Sunset Park.
free classes on.
Sorry. Say Amazon wanted to create a second HQ or third HQ now, like they tried to do in Industry City a few years back, promised jobs for people that live in Brooklyn, but it was a large company, obviously like Amazon. Is that something that you would condone, or would you be against that?
I will love it. To the restrictions of what Amazon needs to do as far as who they're going to hire. It has to be laid out for me. It can't be, oh, this big corporation coming in and they're going to sit here and lie to me. It's not going to happen, right? So it has to be strict guidelines, right? I'm all for that, right? And we need to understand that community is everything. Without no community, there is no Brooklyn. And at the end of the day, we need to make sure that community is the foundation. And we're talking about all community of Brooklyn, all zip codes.
Okay. So you mentioned obviously about your early childhood, but we didn't talk about exactly where in Brooklyn you're from. So can you just very briefly say, where you grew up, where you live now, that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I grew up, I'm a Brooklynite, and I grew up in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. I grew up, my address was 940 Prospect, New York. And it's between Brooklyn and Brooklyn, it's between Brooklyn and Park Avenue. And it's right down a block from Browell Park and the Brooklyn Museum. I grew up all my life over there, well, until I was 14 years old. Then my mom moved us to East New York, where I lived in Fairfield Towers. So I'm a Brooklynite. I'm in Brooklyn. I'm a Crown Brooklyn. And I love Brooklyn. I am Brooklyn. It's just no more to say. I'm 42 years. This April 30th, it'll be 43 years. I'm Brooklyn. How the artists used to say, I'm so Brooklyn, And one of the caveats about my candidacy and what you're going to see, Sabrina, you're going to see a lot of celebrities support me. A lot. I've already been endorsed by Foxy Brown, Brooklynite, Fabulous, a Brooklynite, 6-time world champ, Zab Judah, Brooklynite. I've been endorsed by Dame Dash. He's from Harlem, but yet he was partners with Jay-Z, Brooklynite. I'm endorsed by Fredro Starr, who's on Moesha. So a lot of celebrities are galvanizing and coming together and getting behind me. Also, what I'm going to have in the office, I'm going to have an Innocence Project, where men and women that are illegally convicted I will have paid lawyers that's going to fight for their rights. I'm going to be big on re-entry. When people come from when people that were locked up and they're coming from prison, a re-entry program, making sure they have a job. You see, I understand these dynamics, right? I understand, why it's so hard for they can be so So therefore, a re-entry is, you want to know why? I'm also going to be placing a reform to parole in Brooklyn, because parole officers have too much power. And we're talking about Brooklyn, right? These are the areas that no one has touched. And that's why Brooklyn has been breaking down and not, we haven't been rehabilitating from the wounds of racism, of systemic racism.